Hey everybody, and welcome back for another video. Today's video, we got another podcast segment, but today's video is a little bit different. As you can see, we have a guest with us. We have our good friend Tony here, and we're going to be talking about, in general, in this video, just our general thoughts about Star Wars. It's kind of a round table talk of it. So to get us started, we're going to just talk about, what made us fall in love with Star Wars, what made us gravitate to it. So as our guest, Tony, we'll have you go first. What are your thoughts about Star Wars? How'd you get into it?
So when I was a youngin, there were three major movies that got me into nerddom, as I like to call it, and that was the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, and Episode Two: Attack of the Clones. And I can't pinpoint exactly what it was. I don't know if it was just because I was a young lad and the spectacle and the wonder and all that stuff. But when I saw Attack of the Clones, I was hooked. I was just like, this stuff is so cool. There's spaceships, there's Jedi's and all that stuff. I mean, it was just cool. And ever since then, I was hooked. And I've been a fan of Star Wars all my life up until my wife and I got married on Star Wars Day, May 4th, and that was intentional. And we had all sorts of nerdy decorations and Star Wars decorations. We walked back down the aisle to the Star Wars theme,
Nice.
and among tons of other things. So it's just kind of like, why does anyone get into Star Wars? It's just cool, and then you kind of go down the rabbit hole from there. So that's kind of my intro to my love of Star Wars.
Very nice. So it's actually interesting that you said it was Attack of the Clones that got you into it. Like, did you not even see the original trilogy before Attack of the Clones?
That was no. I was born in the '90s.
Same.
So Attack of the Clones was the first one that I was like old enough and cognizant, to see. And I don't even remember how I watched it, like if it was just on TV one day or something. But yeah. So that was the first one. Yeah, I was not alive for the original trilogy. And I was a little too young for the Phantom Menace. So Attack of the Clones was my first, was my gateway drug.
Nice. We're actually very similar to you as far as the wedding stuff goes. Because if I remember correctly, we got married 1 year before you. Were you 2019?
Correct.
Oh yeah, we were 2018. And when we were wedding planning, I was like, I really want Star Wars Day, but it was a Friday. And
I said no Fridays.
so we went with Revenge of the Fifth, and we got married on May 5th
Okay.
instead. It fit a little more for us too, because we're way more dark side prone than light side.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's really cool that you got like the actual day, and you got
Yeah,
a
we
theme.
were we were trying to pin down a date, and it fell on a Saturday, and we looked at each other, we're like, that's it. It's meant to be. So we went full steam ahead on it.
Yeah, you got a winner when you can plan on something geeky like that.
Yeah.
um, yeah, as far as me and getting involved with Star Wars, I know I did an unboxing on one of my videos of a VHS collection, and that was actually the one that started off for me. My parents bought me the special editions of the original trilogy,
Mhm.
and I played those tapes so much that I ruined episode 5, where right before Luke and Vader had the little duel before Luke went out the window, the video would stop and you couldn't get
Oh,
beyond that. You couldn't even fast forward past the tape would like get all mangled.
yeah.
So yeah, I like ruined all those tapes, and then I had to get a new set. Uh, but my first theater experience was episode 1, and I enjoyed it so much. I mean, I know nowadays there's people that really don't like it, but to a point, that's like my nostalgic. It gets me right in the heart,
Mhm.
because that was my first theater experience.
Yeah, episode 3 was my first theater experience.
Nice,
Because
really
I was
good.
eventually old enough to realize, hey, there's movie theaters I can go to. So yeah.
I think for me it might have been episode 7 because we didn't really go to the movies a whole lot when I was a kid. So I think it might have been episode 7 was my first Star Wars one for in theater.
Mm-hmm.
But
And where did we see it?
in the IMAX.
In IMAX.
Of
Oh,
course.
of course. You have to.
Very, very big on the big screen and the booming sound system.
Absolutely.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I still remember when we went in there, we were in line to go into the theater. And I kid you not, somebody walked out of the theater and said, "I cannot believe Han Solo died."
Mm-hmm.
And I went, "Are you kidding me right now?" It's like one of the biggest spoilers of the movie.
Oh, you haven't gone. You didn't go in yet.
No, we were in line to walk into the theater.
Oh,
And as they were emptying the theater, someone had said that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sorry.
Well, what can you do,
Yeah.
I think for me, my first Star Wars memories are playing with my dad's original action figures. So like Luke with I'm sorry, I think it was actually Han with the tauntaun and like the whole Hoth outfit. I remember he had a blanking on his name.
Are you talking about like the 12-inch figures?
Yeah,
What's he look like?
the big lizard guy.
A big lizard
Top
guy?
of the Hut?
Yes, I don't know why that name was just escaping me right there. Yep. So he had a Jabba the Hutt. He had the big.
Yeah, Jabba the Hutt, like 12-inch figure.
I don't know about 12-inch
like
figure,
the big
but
ones?
yeah,
I didn't know that was a thing.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, 12 inches long, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's 12 inches long.
He had one of the big AT-ATs. He had a ton of those original toys. So I remember playing with those. And I remember playing the original Battlefront on PlayStation 2. And that was a really fun game. I really liked that one.
Classic.
So yep. I think, I was a 90s baby also, but I think I grew up more with the original trilogy. I didn't really watch the new trilogy until, honestly, I don't think I even really watched them until after I met Jeremy because it just wasn't something that really interested me at the time. I had a little bit of a hard time getting used to the CGI, especially with, I remember the battle between Yoda and it's the Emperor, but it's not when he's the Emperor.
Oh, Darth Sidious?
Right? Yeah, Darth Sidious. And so you see Yoda just hopping from platform to platform. And just, as a younger kid, it just looked kind of fake to me. So I had a hard time accepting that as being Star Wars because of the originals looking so much different.
Green guy jumping around looks fake.
It didn't really look as much as I thought Star Wars was supposed to look. Yeah. So I didn't give it a chance until much later. But
yeah, and a little bit of backstory into our relationship as well. As when I first met her, she was like, ever since I saw that scene, I am never watching another prequel. Like that was the only prequel she had seen at that point, was that little scene. And we got her. We got her. She came around.
I gave it a chance.
I'm still working on it with my wife. She's seen the sequel trilogy because those came out when we were together, and she saw like Rogue One and Solo and stuff like that. And the plan, as I told you before we shot this thing, was I wanted to watch Rebels and Clone Wars over quarantine, but I wanted to rewatch episode 1 and 2 first. And she was like, "Oh, I want to watch them with you because I haven't seen it." And we saw episode 1. In episode 1, there's a lot of like the political stuff,
Yeah, very, very political.
She got very bored. So she was just like, "Oh, I'll still watch episode 2 with you." Never got around to watching episode 2. I waited and waited and waited. But it's all good. It's whatever.
Yeah,
we're still working on it.
I think that's kind of like one of the beautiful things about the fact that I got to see the Phantom Menace as a kid was because I paid attention to the lightsaber battles and all the combat stuff. Like I didn't understand the politics of it, so I just kind of went over my head.
Mhm.
But I totally get, like, I've heard a lot of talk shows that said the same exact thing. Like, you know, everybody was expecting this really awesome Star Wars film to come out, and they're basically just watching a debate the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
that was the first time I had watched that in a while. And when she pointed that out, I was like, yeah, it's a little dry, isn't it? That's, you know, that's a astute observation, but I still like it.
yeah, maybe when she ends up seeing the overarching story, like she'll see like how the politics was being played with Palpatine, like how he was orchestrating both sides of the conflict.
Yeah, and I told her that. I said if you stick it, I said episode one isn't one of the better ones compared to the rest of the series, or it's at least not one of my favorites, I should say. So I said if you kind of stick it out a little bit more, you might like it. And uh, it, it blew her mind. I think it was before the pod racing sequence, and I just had mentioned casually, like I made a joke or something like, "Oh, I hope this little boy doesn't grow up to be Darth Vader," and she goes, "Wait, what? He becomes Darth Vader?" And I'm just like, "Yeah," and that her mind just like she had to pause the movie. She was just like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm just like, "Yeah." Well, no, but yeah.
Nice. It's
Yeah.
you should show her the poster. There's the one episode one poster where Anakin is like in front of the house and then his shadow is Vader.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's a good one.
yeah. I've heard of that.
I
Hmm.
still remember way back when I was younger, like it was before episode 3 came out. It was before I could put together that the Chancellor was the Emperor. I was at a
Hmm.
library, a very, very small library. My grandparents they lived in a very small town, and they had one of those DK reader guides of Star Wars, and it was about the original trilogy. And so I'm flipping through, and I got to the picture of the Emperor, but instead of calling him the Emperor, they called him, I think, Emperor Palpatine instead of just the Emperor. And when I read his name, I was like, no way. That's who that is? And that was before I saw episode 3, and I was like, "Ooh, I got some good
Oh
stuff here."
yeah.
Tell my buddies. That was like way back in 5th or 6th grade, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it that's what blew my mind in the prequel trilogy was just stumbling across that book.
Hmm.
Talking about some trilogy stuff, though, um, let's kind of go in order of the sagas as they came out. What was your, because you said you were introduced to the series with episode 2. What were your thoughts when you actually saw the originals?
I liked them. Yeah, I thought they were great. I it's a little tough just not having seen them in kind of the zeitgeist of the time. And a lot of people when they and I agree with this, they say the original trilogy is the best.
Mhm.
And I would tend to agree with that from purely just from like a filmmaking perspective. Um, but yeah, I mean, I liked them. You know, I don't. I said I think they're the best, but I'm not like a original trilogy rules and prequels suck sort of person. I just yeah, I liked them. They're good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Was there, because between episode 2 and the original trilogy, you know, it's completely different. And you said you had loved episode 2. Was there any, and I don't know if I'd call it a disconnect, but was there any things where you got to the original trilogy and you were like, I'm not too sure when you first started watching it, or was it kind of like it grabbed you from the beginning?
Um, for watching the original trilogy,
Yeah,
I
after
mean,
coming off of episode 2.
oh well, uh, I think how I watched them. I watched episode two when I was young, and then I saw episode three when in theaters, um, and then I think after that I watched the original trilogy for the first time,
Wow.
um, and I think that's how it went. I can't quite remember, um, but I, honestly, I might have been too young at that point still to really see them for more than just like fun sci-fi movies. But as I'm older, I don't really see any disconnect necessarily. Even when I was younger, I realized they were made, way back in the day, and so I kind of anticipated that, things would look different and stuff like that. But no real strong opinions necessarily.
Was the iconic "I Am Your Father," did that fall kind of flat since you had seen the prequels first?
Oh, 100%. Oh yeah, I knew that was coming. Absolutely. Yeah.
Dang. That's
Yeah.
Was it a
That was
surprise for
that
you?
was a
It was, and when I was younger, it was a surprise for me. I still remember. I don't know if you guys remember, but in episode 5, in the Battle of Hoth, right before Luke like goes to take off, and he has his partner in the back, he keeps calling him Dak. As a kid, I heard Dad. So I
oh
like had arguments with people like, no, that guy is his dad. I don't care what Vader said. It's fake.
funny.
um, but yeah, when I heard the Vader thing first, and I was like, "Ooh, he's his father." But then I heard the thing in the speeder, and I was like, is he really his father? What's going on here?" But that's the like 7, 8-year-old me not knowing how to process things.
Yeah. Yeah, the fact that Vader was Luke's father was so in this, like everyone knew that when I watched Empire Strikes Back. So yeah, I was just like, oh yeah, that's yep. All right, what's next?
I don't really remember it being much of a surprise for me either, actually.
Yeah.
What was the order that you watched them in?
I would think probably just the original trilogy was all that I had seen until we met. So original trilogy, and then I think we watched prequels out of order because you were watching either 2 or 3 at some point, and I just happened to like join you in watching, even though it wasn't in order. And then we might have gone back to 1, 2, and 3 afterward or something like that.
Gotcha. See, that was a little bit of like reverse psychology is what I did is I was watching some of the good parts
There you
and she
go.
saw it and she was like, that's the prequel trilogy? And I was like, yeah, it is. You want to watch it now? Yes, I do. That's how we got her hooked.
Yeah.
But did you see A New Hope before Empire? Or was that like the
I have no idea
no
what
idea.
order I watched them.
It might be too much to ask to remember way back when, but
I
Yeah.
never remember. Yeah.
yeah. I don't remember either, but I do remember it just being like a very striking thing where like this really big bad guy is the father of the like really big good guy on the good guy side. So
And I don't know if this means anything, but in the Rise of Skywalker, when they revealed the Palpatine Rey connection, I rolled my eyes. So I was just like, really? We're doing that out of nowhere here? Okay.
yeah, it was interesting. Uh, we can roll into the sequel trilogy if you
Sure.
want, because just to kind of piggyback off of that, um, I know I don't remember how recently it was, but it was like probably a month or two ago. Some of the actors and actresses started talking about what was actually going on while they were filming, and it was interesting because Daisy Ridley had spoke out and said there were days that JJ came up to her and said, "Palpatine's your father. So and so else is your father. We don't know who your father is. Just do the part." So
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of shows how much of a smorgasbord it was filming that
Oh gosh,
movie.
yeah.
Uh,
The
you
movie was
know,
a hot mess, man.
I I love it for what the base was set up from it, but at the same time, I feel like if Kathleen Kennedy would have made it planned out, it would have been much better.
Yes.
Or
Or like literally anybody planned it out a little better.
yeah, I did like Colin Trevorrow's proposed idea, but we all know that got shot down,
The
unfortunately.
Duel of the Fates.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watch videos and stuff on what the story would have been, and obviously, stuff in writing versus execution looks different. But I don't know if I would have really been overly thrilled with that with his script either. Like I don't know. Just from hearing about it.
I don't know if I would say I'd be overly thrilled. I just feel like it would have been a little different, like a little more unique.
Yeah.
Um, because it almost seemed like I'm sure a lot of people could have put the Palpatine thing together, but aside from that, there wasn't a whole lot that was left to mystery of what could have happened. Like when you see the previews and people are talking, they're saying, "Well, we're going to try to make this movie." It's George Lucas said Star Wars is poetic. You know, it repeats itself. It's a rhythm. So when the prequel trilogy had Mustafar and lava, well, Rise of Skywalker is going to have a ton of water flying everywhere during this battle.
Right.
So it almost seemed like that movie could have been predicted. There wasn't much left to the imagination. I don't know if you guys feel the same. That's kind of how I felt.
That's fair. My expectations going into that movie being the conclusion to a decades long saga, I expected Endgame level of epicness and quality, and that was not it. Like you said, there was potential, absolutely. But I think just the lack of vision and the lack of mapping stuff out, as you alluded to, I think that was really their downfall. Because I feel like JJ tried to put 2 movies worth of ideas into one, and the movie moves at a just agonizingly fast pace. Like I felt exhausted afterwards, and so like the saga just ended with a fart to me. And just the cherry on top was when Rey said she was a Skywalker at the end, and I'm like, that's not how names work, so I don't buy that. But yeah, I thought the Force Awakens was fine. I thought it was a very safe move to go off of an established formula when you're bringing Star Wars back. I am an unapologetic Last Jedi lover. I liked The Last Jedi. I thought it took a lot of risks, and I appreciate when directors try for things, even if they miss. I'd rather them swing and miss than not swing at all. And I thought it was the most thematically rich Star Wars we've had in a while. And then I thought The Rise of Skywalker was just a hot mess. So real mixed bag of a trilogy for me. But yeah, I am in the pro Last Jedi camp myself.
We can respect that.
Yeah,
We got different opinions.
We won't contribute to the toxic fandom. I respect where you're at too. And I tell people, I think I liked it for a lot of reasons why people didn't. And I respect that. All film is subjective, so.
Yeah, I think aside from the story part of it, I feel like what really kind of felt like it spat in my face was like the edit. I don't know if you saw the video that floated around where Rey really should have died in the battle where her and Kylo are working together. Did you see that edit?
For The Last Jedi, or no? I haven't heard that.
Where she was fighting a guard, and the guard had 2 blades, and he had her pinned in the other arm behind her, but mysteriously his blade disappeared. So they edited out the fact that she could have died. And then also like the bickering back and forth between Mark Hamill and Rian Johnson about Luke, and that it hits you a little differently. At least that hit me. It's kind of like, you know, it's someone that lives Star Wars, someone that believes they know Star Wars, and I didn't like how that kind of clashed. I don't know.
Are you referring to how they kind of made Luke almost like a jerk?
Yeah, but there was a lot of reports that on set, Mark Hamill would go up to Ryan. He'd be like, "This isn't Luke. What are you doing?"
Right.
And basically, Ryan would say, "Shut up and do it. It's on the script."
Yeah, that was the part of it that I wasn't really a super fan of. Like when she goes to hand the lightsaber to him and he just tosses it over his shoulder like it's nothing. I just thought that was really uncalled for, especially since he had been disappeared for quite a long time. And then that's our like first introduction of seeing him again after so long. It's just that he doesn't care anymore. It just seemed really out of place to me.
I will say this though, I forget what the actual conversation was, but there was a thing, I think it was a behind the scenes feature maybe, where Ryan Johnson was basically explaining his reasoning for Luke being this way. And when I listened to him talk, I believed him. Unfortunately, I only listened to it like once, so I don't remember exactly what he said. But he had an argument for what he did. It wasn't just I'm going to change just to make people upset. He had a legitimate reason. It just was one that I didn't really need, so to speak.
Yeah, that's fair. And I've watched a few video essays on YouTube arguing why The Last Jedi is actually like a love letter to Star Wars. But you have to like kind of think about it and really like dive into it. And personally, I like doing that. I like thinking that way. But to more of a, I guess, a casual moviegoer, they're probably, they're going to see it at more of a surface level. So I can see where people are coming from for sure. And also for Luke, I didn't mind his character arc because again, personally, it's just personal subjective opinion. I am a sucker for the old, worn down, beaten warrior that has to find, his strength and has kind of a redemption arc. I love that trope. I don't know why. Like I loved, Logan, the Wolverine movie, and it's a trope in a lot of westerns. You know what I'm saying? So I love that myself. But I can see where people are coming from.
I still remember when we went and saw that movie. We went with a group. It was kind of like the people that know Star Wars sat in one spot, and then the people that I think it was their first time seeing Star Wars at all, like sat in this other section. They just kind of wanted to see what the hype was all about. The people that didn't know about Star Wars loved it. They loved the porgs. They loved the action, all that good stuff. It was very interesting to see, like, as we walked out of the theater, the two different dynamics of how that played out.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And just for the record, so just to kind of get this out there, so we talked about the sequel trilogy. I do think the original trilogy is the best one, but I'm not a prequel hater. I think it's a step below the original. But as far as like, they're still competent movies. Like they're not bad movies. You can disagree with some of the choices that Lucas made, like the midichlorians and stuff like that, and that's fine. But to me, they're not bad movies. And in fact, I would say Revenge of the Sith is in my top 3 favorite Star Wars movies. I don't know what this says about me, but I'm a sucker for a good tragedy. I love tragic stories, and that fit right in there. So yeah, I'd probably go original. I guess sequel and then prequel maybe, but I'll probably change my mind tomorrow.
If you had to pick one movie to be your favorite, which would it be and why?
Of the original 9 or any of them?
Any of them.
Honestly, I think Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie. I don't know why exactly. I think it actually like put the war in Star Wars. And I don't know if I felt it was more grounded or a little bit more gritty and certain, on the street level, if you will. But I remember walking out of the theater and being like, "Oof, that was a good movie."
Yeah, I still remember we saw that one too. I think that one was in IMAX as well. But yeah, I totally see that. It's almost because they're not like the big heroes that we all know. They're just like these random people, just like us.
Yeah.
they're kind of intertwining into the overall war that's going on. I can see it.
And it's shot like a war movie. So it's like it's a war movie disguised as a Star Wars movie.
I did really like K2SO.
Yes.
He was funny.
Yes, he was.
I enjoyed him too. If I remember correctly, I think he was the pirate dude in Dodgeball. I do enjoy that guy.
I didn't know that.
Pretty sure that's who that was. Yeah, one thing that I thought was really, really refreshing about Rogue One, because we had seen The Force Awakens, and then it was Rogue One that came out, right?
I think so.
I felt like I felt like Force Awakens like established what space battle dogfighting would be, modern day. But I felt like Rogue One really made it feel like classic Star Wars dogfighting and stuff. And we saw some new things too, like when they used the one that looked like a hammerhead and they used it to push the Star Destroyer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
You saw some new things in that as well.
Mm-hmm. I was a little bummed in that movie. In one of the trailers, there was a scene where the main character and a few other ones were running away from AT-ATs. And I remember like running, like physically running away from these big machines. And I remember that was the part of the trailer that hooked me on the movie. And it wasn't in the final movie. And I was a little bummed about it, but I still like it. Yeah.
I still remember after seeing it and reading some of the reports that we all know the famous Vader scene at the end. There's a couple of different versions that could have been, and one of them, instead of showing him at that very end piece, there was potential of him storming the beach and ripping through the rebels. I thought that was interesting to see as well.
Yeah, and I did like how it ended, like literally right up to the point of A New Hope. I just thought that was cool. I'm like, I didn't see that coming. I'm like, ooh, okay, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, and there was so many things in that movie that made it so the continuity worked as well. So like Vader's red rim around his eyes, and a ton of the pilots that were in the dogfight were actually stripped from A New Hope and put into those cockpits.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I think if I had to pick one favorite out of all of them, this is going to sound really probably silly to most, but it's got to be number 5 because I love the Ewoks that much.
Number 6.
Number 6. I'm sorry. I misspoke.
She calls it number 5 all the time.
I misspoke.
It's because it's a 5 out of 5 to her. That's why.
I love the Ewoks. I think they're adorable. I like the original cut where they don't blink. I like the new cut where they do blink. That doesn't really make a difference to me. I think they're fuzzy. I don't know. I really like the whole Endor vibe and being out in the jungle and whatnot.
I didn't know that was one of the changes from not blinking to blinking.
Yeah, they blink now.
What a weird thing to change. Like who cares?
Yeah. I think the really cool thing about that is like it's on our bucket list for me at least to go to where they shot that so you can actually walk on Endor, because I'm pretty sure that was the Redwood Forest that they filmed in California. We were supposed to go to California before Corona hit, and that would have been nice to go do, but shut down. My favorite out of all the series is probably the most cop-out favorite, I guess, and that would be Empire Strikes Back. I felt like that movie just had a continuous tempo of not really slowing down. The music was phenomenal. The combat I really enjoyed. It seemed like a really, really well-paced ride, and it just kind of topped off with one of the most iconic moments in film history, and I don't know. I love it. even when I'm just doing random things, I'll just turn it on for background noise just because it's so good to me.
It is good. And the funny thing is for me, we kind of alluded to it earlier about the prequel trilogy being my intro to it, is a lot of people say their favorite Star Wars is Empire Strikes Back. And it's really good, and it's probably the best movie, at least of the original trilogy. But I don't know. I don't have that draw to that one. Um, I don't know why. I think it's just an age thing, but
It's
I
because
still
of
like it though.
Ewoks, right?
What?
I said it's because there's no Ewoks, right?
Right, exactly. That's probably it. Yeah.
It might be a mix of a few things for me, because I also grew up like kind of a side thing, um, right around, I want to say when I was in kindergarten, my parents had bought us or bought the family a Super Nintendo, and one of those games was Super Empire Strikes Back, and that really added to it for me as well. I played that game all the time. It's actually known as one of the hardest Super Nintendo games out there. I've never beaten it. I think I've gotten halfway, and that's about it. But yeah, those games really added to the original trilogy for me as well.
Yeah.
So we haven't hit on Solo at all yet. Uh, what's your opinion on Solo?
It's fine. I no strong opinions one way or another. I don't think we needed it. I think Han is a more interesting character when you don't know his backstory, and now we do, and it's like, okay. I thought some of the explanations of things were a little weird, like how he got his name, like an Imperial Guard just saying, "Oh, Solo." It's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's super weird. Um, but yeah, it's fine. Middle of the road.
I remember we came out of the theater, we were pretty disappointed. For quite a long time, we spoke very low of it. um, but we did have one instance where we had a friend get together at our house, and one of our good buddies, he's super positive. Like there's something very, very toxic about his positivity, and he had never seen Solo before. And all he had heard was bad things. And so when he watched this movie, at the very end, he was like, you know what? That was actually a pretty good movie. And he was like telling us what he liked about it. And it was like, you know what? I guess it's not half that bad.
Yeah, it's fine. It's yeah, average. I did like the Western motif and imagery and stuff like that, and themes. Um, Aside from that, though, it was fine.
I think if you take away your expectation of it being the Han Solo that we knew, it's a pretty good movie. I think for me, the only thing that really kind of was a bummer about it was just because it didn't seem like his personality was that great of a match.
You mean like acting or just the way they portrayed it?
I'd say maybe a little bit of both. It just, obviously they're not going to look the same. They're different actors, right? You can only make them look so close. But as far as like how he acted and kind of his, his cockiness, it didn't seem like it was on the same level. But if you take that out, and I guess if you had never seen, Han Solo before and just watched the movie just on its own, without that in it, then I don't think it really would be that bad of a movie.
Yeah, I would add to that to say, like, if I didn't know about all the issues they had while filming and
Right.
That too.
setting
Yeah.
it to being like the worst Star Wars film ever, because I totally didn't mind. There's a lot of people that said it was Star Wars fatigue because it was 5 months after The Last Jedi had come out. They were trying to reestablish that Star Wars is supposed to come out in May because that's how it used to be. I had no problem with that personally. I love as much Star Wars can come out. I want it to come out. I
Yeah.
hate that they draw it out in Disney Plus. Like there's only like one new Star Wars thing happening at a time, except for next week when the holiday special comes out for Lego. watch that. I'm excited for it. Have you seen the holiday special?
No, nope. That was way before my time, and I have no interest in watching it.
We watch it every year for the holiday.
Oh boy.
It's a
I've
tradition.
seen like clips and stuff, and it looks out there.
It is very out there. There are some things
Yes.
in there that's like,
It's so bad that it's good.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing too with Solo was the connection to the shows that was in there towards the end with Darth Maul and stuff. I had, as I said earlier, I haven't watched the shows, and I didn't expect the movies and the shows to connect that explicitly. So that was, well, I knew Maul was alive in the show, but that was the first time I had actually seen Darth Maul in a movie since I watched The Phantom Menace, and so I was like, why, what? You know, and I didn't know why he was there and all that stuff. So that and that's nothing against the movie, just a personal thing. I was just kind of like, oh, didn't see that.
Yeah, that was the part that made me the most excited, honestly, because I'm hoping it leads to more, but I've also heard there's contract disputes and stuff as well, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, who knows?
Let's see, we covered all the movies.
I think so.
Anything else you want to add?
Just that, you know, my introduction to Star Wars might have been Attack of the Clones, but as I've gotten older, my opinions have evolved, and I've learned more about, you know, the behind the scenes stuff, and things like that. And yeah, I think I have a greater appreciation for Star Wars, not just a being a fan of Star Wars. Because there's a documentary on Disney Plus that I watched about the behind the scenes of the original trilogy, and it was very interesting to me to see that before it was just Star Wars, but before would become A New Hope came out, or when it came out, it was seen as just like a really weird, like niche indie sci-fi movie that nobody really paid much attention to, and now it's like with tons of production problems, and now it's like this huge global phenomenon, and that's just mind-blowing to me. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I think like I fell in love with Star Wars, but I feel like it keeps giving me more reasons to love Star Wars, whether it's new shows, movies, books, video games, what have you. There's always at least something that is good.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I definitely like that they keep coming out with new things, whether it's the movies or the video games or just new merchandise. It's definitely keeping itself relevant, and I appreciate that.
Yes.
Cool. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this podcast today. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, drop us a like if you liked the video, and drop us a comment. Let us know what you want to hear about in the future. And as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.